Welcome back to Betrayed. We're so glad you've joined us today. Where are you tuning in from? We always enjoy hearing how far these unbelievable stories travel. Today's story is about a cheating wife. My name is Eric, and I want to share something personal with you. A story about love, trust, and the heartbreaking moment I realized the woman I planned to marry never truly respected me. Have you ever heard someone say just a few simple words that revealed exactly how they saw you?
I have.
And in that moment, everything changed. But before I tell you about the moment that made me walk away from our engagement in front of a room full of people, let me take you back to the time when I thought what we had was real. Because honestly, it didn't start out badly. For years, I believed I had found someone who truly saw me for who I was. Her name was Vanessa. Ours wasn't some wild, fast romance. Our relationship grew slowly over time. We shared a history. We built a life together, step by step. When she was struggling to find her path in her career, I stood beside her. I supported her, encouraged her, and believed in her, even when she didn't believe in herself. I thought we were a team. I never imagined that the same woman I stood by through everything would one day mock my dreams, right in front of an audience. Looking back now, the signs were always there. I just chose not to see them. In the beginning, Vanessa was my biggest supporter. She used to smile proudly whenever she spoke about my work. "Eric is incredibly talented," she'd tell her friends, flipping through my portfolio like it was something special. She loved showing off the magazine that had published my photos, bragging about it like it was her own success. And for a long time, I truly believed she admired what I did. Photography wasn't just a side project for me. It was my career, my passion, and my life. I worked hard to build my name. I invested in the best equipment I could afford. I captured moments that mattered. I wasn't just getting by, I was thriving. I turned what I loved into a business, something many people dream of, but never accomplish. At first, Vanessa seemed to understand that. But slowly, things started to change. Little by little, the way she talked about my work began to shift. It all started with a small comment, one I ignored at the time. We were having dinner, excitedly talking about our wedding plans. I mentioned a new camera lens I had been saving up for. She sighed and said, "You should get a real job with a steady paycheck. Weddings are expensive, you know." Then she laughed, like it was just a harmless joke. I laughed too. At that moment, I didn't realize it was the first crack in the foundation of our relationship. Then came the second moment, more subtle but clear. We were out shopping, and she ran into a colleague. I stood there, waiting for her to introduce me. But she didn't. Later, she casually said, "I just didn't know how to introduce you." It hurt. But I convinced myself she didn't mean anything bad by it. But the third time, there was no mistaking it. We were at home, just talking, when she said, "I mean, photography is nice and all, but it's not really a career, right?" She said it so casually, like it didn't even matter. And in that moment, something inside me changed. She wasn't joking. She really believed that. To her, everything I had built, every late night, every weekend I sacrificed, every bit of passion I poured into my work, it was just a hobby. Something small. Something unimportant. Still, I brushed it off. I told myself she didn't mean to hurt me. That maybe I was just being too sensitive. After all, this was Vanessa, the woman I had loved for years. She had supported me before. But now I know that was my first mistake. I ignored the warning signs. And those small cracks? They grew into something much bigger. Vanessa invited me to her company's annual office party as her plus one. It was held at a classy, high-end venue. Glass walls reaching high into the ceiling, shiny marble floors, soft jazz music playing in the background. The room was filled with energy. Professionals moved with confidence, talking about promotions, investments, and six-figure salaries like it was just a normal day. I told myself I wasn't intimidated. But deep inside, I felt like I didn't quite belong. My world was different. My passion didn't fit into their corporate lifestyle. Still, I stood tall, reminding myself that I was proud of who I was and what I did. Vanessa introduced me to a small group of her coworkers. maybe 4 or 5 of them. They were all dressed in sharp suits and fancy dresses, holding cocktails and chatting about business. I smiled and nodded, mostly just listening, as they talked about upcoming projects with well-known clients. Then, one of them, a man in a navy blue suit, perfectly groomed like he belonged on the cover of a magazine, turned to me and asked politely, "So, Eric, what do you do?" Before I could say a word, Vanessa let out a small, amused laugh, the kind that makes everyone pause because they know a joke is coming. "Oh, Eric," she said, swirling her drink with a smirk. "His job is basically just taking fancy selfies for money." The whole room burst into laughter. Not polite laughter. Not a nervous chuckle. Real laughter, loud, unfiltered, and mocking. Some of them looked at each other, smiling like they were sharing a private joke. One woman even nodded and said, "Oh, that's cute." The laughter felt like it was closing in on me, pressing down on my chest. And in that moment, I saw Vanessa clearly. Truly clearly for the first time. This wasn't just a slip of the tongue. This wasn't just a joke that went too far. This was how she truly saw me. To her, I wasn't a hardworking photographer. I wasn't someone who had built a career from the ground up. To her, I was just a guy who took selfies for money. And suddenly, everything became clear. The small comments, the awkward way she introduced me, the little jabs I had ignored for so long. She wasn't proud of me. She was ashamed of me. Right then and there, I made a decision. I wasn't going to spend my life with someone who made me feel less than I am. I calmly put down my drink, took a deep breath, and looked at Vanessa. I stared into her eyes and said, "If you don't respect what I do, then you don't respect me. And I won't spend my life with someone who looks down on me." The room went silent. The laughter stopped immediately. You could feel the weight in the air as everyone turned to look at us, waiting to see what she would say. She stared back at me, wide-eyed. Her mouth opened like she wanted to say something. Then she let out a nervous laugh, like she still thought it was a joke. But I wasn't laughing. I reached for her hand, slid the engagement ring off her finger, and quietly placed it in my pocket. There were gasps. Someone near the bar whispered, "Damn." But I didn't stay to enjoy their reactions. I didn't need an audience. Without saying another word, I turned around and walked away. Out of the party, out of her life, and out of a place where I had never truly belonged. I didn't look back, because for the first time in a long time, I knew exactly who I was and what I deserved. At first, Vanessa didn't contact me. No calls, no texts, nothing. And honestly, I wasn't surprised. Vanessa had always been too proud to admit when she was wrong. She cared too much about appearances to deal with anything that made her look bad. After that night, I'm sure she was embarrassed. Not just because I walked away in front of her coworkers, but because I did it on my terms. I wasn't the guy they were laughing at anymore. I was the one who walked away. And for someone like Vanessa, who loved being in control and cared deeply about her image, that had to hurt. Weeks passed. Silence. Then one evening, out of nowhere, her name popped up on my phone. It was a long message, but the words didn't surprise me. "I've been thinking about what happened.
I didn't mean it like that.
You know I respect you." I was only joking and didn't realize how it sounded. "Can we talk?" I read it and sat quietly for a moment, letting it sink in. If she had sent that message the night of the party, if she had truly thought about her words, truly felt sorry, maybe, just maybe, I would have believed her. But after weeks of nothing?
No.
This wasn't about feeling guilty. It was about saving face. She wasn't reaching out because she realized she had hurt me. She was reaching out because she didn't like how she looked in front of her friends, her family, the people invited to our wedding. That's when I knew for sure. Vanessa never truly respected me. She tolerated my work, but she never valued it. She accepted me, but she was never proud of me. She wanted a fiancé who fit neatly into her world. Someone she could show off. Someone with a title that didn't need explaining. And that wasn't me. It had never been me. So I replied. Not with anger. Not to argue. Just to close the door for good. I appreciate the message. I wish you all the best, Vanessa. but it's better if we both move on.
Short.
Simple. Final. She didn't reply. And I knew she wouldn't. Because for once, there really was nothing left to say. That was the moment I saw everything clearly. I deserved better. I deserved someone who didn't just tolerate my dreams, but believed in them. Someone who would proudly introduce me. Someone who wouldn't laugh at my passion. Not when we were alone. And definitely not in front of a crowd. And once I accepted that truth, I knew exactly what I had to do. I packed my bags and left. That small town had been my comfort zone for too long. I wasn't going to stay there, surrounded by reminders of a life that never truly began. For years, I had dreamed of taking my photography to the next level, to challenge myself, to see how far I could really go. And there was only one place I knew I could do that. New York. It was loud. It was expensive. It was everything people warned me about. But for the first time in years, I was making a decision just for me. No compromises. No doubts. No one to prove myself to. I dove into my work. I said yes to everything. Fashion shoots, events, travel gigs. Anything that would challenge me, help me grow, and build my portfolio. I worked harder than ever. But this time it felt different. This time, I wasn't just trying to survive. I was building something that was mine. Months passed, and I wasn't just getting by. I was thriving. My name started getting passed around in the right circles. People began to notice my work. And then one day, I got an email that changed everything. A major international photography competition had shortlisted one of my photos. At first, I thought it was a mistake. I read the email 3 times just to be sure. But it wasn't a mistake. It was real. Out of thousands of entries from around the world, my work had been chosen. And when I saw my name listed as the winner, I just sat there, staring at the screen. Not because I couldn't believe it, but because deep down, I always had. Even when others didn't. Even when Vanessa called my career fancy selfies for money. Even when I started to doubt myself. Now the world saw what I had always known. I was damn good at what I did. I don't know if Vanessa ever saw the news. Maybe she regretted how things ended. Maybe she convinced herself she was right all along. But honestly, I don't care. That chapter is closed. What matters is this. Out of everything I gained after walking away, the biggest win wasn't the award. It wasn't the recognition. It was finally being surrounded by people who truly valued me. People who saw my work for what it was, art, not just fancy selfies. And among them was someone new. Someone who didn't just admire what I did. They respected it. Someone who saw me for who I was. And never once made me feel small. Because in the end, respect in a relationship isn't optional. It's non-negotiable. Looking back, I learned something powerful. The way someone talks about you in public shows how they truly feel about you in private. Vanessa's jokes weren't harmless. They were windows into how she really saw me. And I ignored the signs for too long. Here's the truth. When someone mocks your dreams, even if they laugh, even if they say, "I was just joking," listen, because those jokes show you exactly how they see you. And if they don't respect what you do, they don't respect you. I almost lost myself trying to fit into someone else's idea of success. But choosing self-respect over a relationship that made me feel small, that was the best decision I ever made. So let me ask you, has anyone ever dismissed your passion? Tried to make you feel like your dreams weren't enough? How did you handle it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if this story spoke to you, tap that like button. It helps more than you know.